share with us like what made you get into radio?
I've always loved music, so it's funny, a lot of people say, you must be one of the few people who got into radio because of music. Because most people are like, I want to be famous, or I love my voice, or I love to talk, which, I love to talk. But for me, I genuinely got into radio because of music, because I love music, and I thought to myself, when I first heard the first music radio station out of Batam, I don't know if you remember, Zoo FM, I was like, wow, a station that plays pop music all day long, and that was your job, just play all your favorite songs and talk. That was a dream job to me. And then Perfect 10 came along. So that became my goal, and I was very clear that that was where I wanted to be. And looking back, I think it's always been, I suppose, a calling. Because when I was young, I remember I was always very attracted to the microphone or anything that looks remotely like one. So those old-fashioned, those vintage perfume bottles with the spray ball atomizer. Right. So even things like that, when I see it at the department stores, I would grab it and then sing into it and talk into it. So I've always had an affinity, like attraction to anything that looks like a microphone. So looking back, I'm like, yeah, the signs were always there.
Growing up as someone, 80s, 90s, any of your favorite bands or acts growing up?
Of course, Duran, Spandau Ballet, of course, right? Like they were the equivalent of your BTS, exactly. Right? So really it was Bananarama, Duran, Spandau Ballet. Those were the bands that I grew up with. I have a teenager and I also have a millennial. Even though they may not, like when I first played it, they don't know, but those songs are classics. They grow to love it. So the first time I play it, they're like, And after a while, as they keep hearing it, they're like, I really like that. So all my kids, they now love Queen. Mm-hmm. They love Duran, they love Tears for Fears, they love all these bands that I loved. Because good music is good music. Given time, you can't not love them, right? You just need to be exposed to them. And music bonds people, and that is really one way of bonding with your kids, when you can share the music that you like or love.
Do you remember your first time on air?
Yeah. So at that point I thought, wow, I'm the baller, I'm so cool, I'm gonna be like a star. You're young, right? I was only 20, I was 21. So I went in there bright-eyed with lots of ideas, super naive. And then of course it hit me like a ton of brick, where I think now that I've been in radio for many years, I don't think radio people mean to be mean. Like when I look back, they were horrible. Many of them were horrible, right? But I say this because I think we appear horrible and mean is because we're so frank. That's why we're DJs. We speak our minds, we don't mince our words. I guess we play kind of rough because we're good with words, and we think that everybody is like us and they can take it, but they can't. So I remember when my producer Irene from Kiss 92, when she joined us, the first few weeks she cried. She said, I've never worked with people so horrible in my life, and radio people are so horrible, but I've been through that. So I know she just couldn't take how frank they were. And I said, but that's radio, and you will grow to love it, because what you see is what you get. Whatever that I say in front of you, that's it. Of course, not everybody is like that, but I love that at radio you get to be like that.
It must have been a lot worse in the 90s.
Yeah, it was extremely tough. And then the worst part was I got pregnant so I was like 21, I got pregnant like within the year. And obviously it's not something you can hide when you decide to keep the child. And I was so young, and when you first join the station, you are the pretty young thing that they want to promote, and then you tell them, hey guys, I'm pregnant. Everybody's like, are you sure that's what you want? So from bosses to colleagues, they would ask, are you sure this is what you want to do? I'm like, yeah, I've thought about it and I'm sure. And obviously there are people who also thought that it was a stupid idea, because then you're throwing away your career. That's how they thought. Oh, you're gonna have a baby at 21, 22, you're throwing away your career. But it's the best decision. It's definitely one of the best decisions I ever made, but at that point it didn't seem like it. It was just more the right decision to make. And it was incredibly tough. I think people just didn't know how to react, you know what I mean? I will not allow myself to be the victim, because I don't think I was. But yeah, they didn't know how to handle it. And when that happened, they put me on float shift. That means instead of having a show of my own, I just cover all the DJs who want to go on leave. So I'm like a part-timer, but I'm not really a part-timer, I'm a full-timer. And people do judge you based on that, because it's all about respect, right, when it comes to jobs. And they just didn't see me as an equal at that point. It's more like, loser, you know, got pregnant, got knocked up, and now you're on float shift. I even had a DJ whom, sadly, you know, I really looked up to that DJ before I joined the station. He was like my so-called hero, you know, inspiration. So this jock said to me, hey, now that you are on float shift, you're dispensable. I mean, it's really like what you see in the movies, and at 20-something, you don't expect people to be so mean, especially the person that you really look up to. And he said, yeah, so now that you're on float shift, you're dispensable, all right? So why are you here? Why are you still here? And I was so shocked, I didn't know how to react. So I said, oh, so what else am I supposed to do? And he said, go do TV lor. I mean, this is coming from a hero, huh? It crushes you.
Do you have any like career highlights or memories you want to mention?
I mean, how do you beat my farewell, right? You're never gonna beat my farewell. I think that was where I really found my family. Actually, even, you know, from Maddy, Jason and Arnold to Maddy, Andre and Vivian, and the producers Celeste and Irene. Oh my God, just thinking about it makes me emotional. But like I said, they are my family, and they still are. And recently I posted a picture of me and Andre, and somebody said, oh, the team is getting back together. I'm like, but we never broke up. Like, we're still friends. Maybe we don't work together. You know, it's like if you leave a company and you're not working with them anymore on a daily basis, but they're still family. So I think for me, that will always be like the best 5 to 10 years of my life.
Can we talk about Forever Fever?
Just looking back on how I met Glen was already, it was magical in a sense that it was very serendipitous, that I didn't even know who Glen Goei was, and I was on a radio show. But then one of the staff, she was a huge fan of Glen's, and she said, hey, do you want to interview Glen Goei? And I'm like, who's Glen Goei? She's like, oh my God, how do you know not Glen Goei? Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, he's in town, and I'm gonna get him on your show. I'm like, yeah, sure. So they brought Glen in. And Glen and I started chatting, and Glen said he was back here and he was casting for his first movie. And because we got along so well, after that he says, Maddy, I think you might be the lead that I've been looking for. I'm like, really? And he's like, yes. He says, would you please come for the audition? I'm like, sure, how do you say no to that, right? So that's what happened, and then I met Glen, and it was definitely an experience. He knows what he wants. That's what I love about Glen. And I don't have a problem with him being very snap, to the point. At that time, I watched a lot of Channel 8 like Chinese drama, so my acting was a little bit like, very angry. Then I remember there was one scene where I'm supposed to be angry, and I did the and then walk away, and he's like, hey, you watch a lot of Chinese drama. He said, no need, subtle. Don't flick, don't. He really toned things down and made it very, very subtle, very real, and I really appreciated that, because then when you watch yourself back, it's not so cringy, you know. So thank God for Glen. And Adrian, wow. I mean, Adrian really taught me what it's like to have a giving partner or co-actor. And it's the same with radio. You know, what I learned from Adrian, I applied it in my entire showbiz career. Is that it's really important that when you throw someone a line, and you will hear this a lot in showbiz as well, there are actors who are all about them. Same way there are DJs, they are all about them. So whatever line they throw to you, right, is all to make them look good. They don't care whether or not you look good. Adrian really taught me that it was so important to get the best out of the people around you. You have to be a giving actor, a performer. It means whatever you throw out, you gotta give enough for them to throw back. And that's where chemistry and magic happens. A show is not centered. Maybe you may be the lead, but the lead alone is not enough to make a successful show, so to speak, right? It's the chemistry, it's how everything interplays. So he really was a very giving and very knowledgeable, very kind, humorous, charming, all the good things that, you know, I can say about somebody. That's Adrian Pang. And Adrian, I'll tell you this now, like every girl on the set had a crush on Adrian, right?
Spin. I was told that it was a really accurate depiction of poly life. But yeah, same question. Any memories working with the cast and crew from that time?
Lots.
Dee and everyone, yeah.
Like that crew, that's another crew that is my family. Just recently, we were on separate shoots and we were passing each other by, and there's just this like, you know, like this longing, this reaching out like, hey, and there's this deep love, deep respect. You know, there's just so much because we spent so much time together, and there were ups and downs. Like we didn't start off instantly liking each other. There was a journey. You know, you didn't like each other, then you got to know each other, then you slowly like each other, and then became best of friends. So we really journeyed together. We lived, laughed, and we did so many things together. Spin taught me about friendship because of the friends that I made on that show. And again, it's one of those really strange kind of serendipitous event in my life where I actually had a dream about Spin before that. So a lot of people don't know that I actually got the part. I was actually confirmed for the lead role in 999. So I was supposed to play Chia Swan's role. You know, the tomboy, because at the time I had really short hair. So everything was confirmed, wardrobe, it was like 100% ready to go. Then they told me, sorry, we're going with somebody else, which is very disappointing. And of course, I was crestfallen, right? Then I told myself, you know what, like I'm done. Of course, when you're young, you know, when you're young and a snowflake, you cannot take all these disappointments. But you should. We should learn to take disappointments. But you know, there's a lot of blessing in disguise in life. So learn to deal with disappointment, people. So I told myself that, oh, I'm never going to work with, you know, MediaCorp again. I'm never going to do TV again. They disappointed me. They cheated me. They let me down. Blah, 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 blah. And then I had a dream. And there were these two guardian angels who claimed that they were my guardian angels, and they just said, and the message in the dream was, you're gonna be presented with a TV role, take it, it will change your life. So instantly I thought, oh, change my life means I'm gonna be famous. That's the first thing you always think back then, right, when you're young. But not true, it did change my life, but not in the way that I thought. So I met my best friends for life. They're still my best friends. They have saved me and gone through with me like so many different moments, ups and downs. We've journeyed and we have laughed, cried together. We've grown so much together. Without them, I will not be the person, and I would not have made it through all the hard times and all the, you know, really soul-crushing moments in my life.
Working 12 to 14-hour days, right?
Yeah.
So how did you then juggle parenting?
Yeah, I didn't do it so well. That's what thank God for my husband. But I read somewhere, and it's totally true, and we actually did a story of this on air as well, that, you know, how successful you are is very much tied to how supportive your spouse is, the kind of person you marry, and it's 100% true. You know, I don't think I would have done half the things that I've done without the husband that I have, because he truly is so supportive, and he's allowed me to do all these things that I never could have done if I never met him. So he was the present parent when I was not. He was the one who was there for my kids. Thankfully, he's also a lot fitter and he's got more energy than me. We actually had a row because on air we did this silly topic about like who's your favorite parent, right? And then they called my kids, and then they both, in a roundabout way, said dad. Like, oh, I love you, mom, but dad's my favorite parent. So we laughed about it, and I was okay about it, you know. Then when I went home, of course, I started thinking about it. I'm like, hang on. I mean, I understand and I know why he's the favorite parent, but, you know, it still stings a little, you know. Oh well, stings a little more. And then after that, we had like a little fight about it. And my husband was like, who's that stupid idiot who came up with that topic on air? I'm like, so now that I only have one main job, as in like day job, then hopefully I can strive to be a favorite parent too.
Elizabeth is on the Madly team right
Yeah.
now. So having experience like working with family, there are challenges, right?
Sure.
How has it been? How do you navigate this?
It's definitely not easy for anyone working with family or plan to work with family. It is very hard. I think we are harder on our own kids than our staff. We probably are more, and we don't even realize it. We're more curt to them. We give them less of our time. We don't actually bother to mince our words or to be diplomatic because they're family, right? So you say as it is, which can be really harsh. And they always feel, and I see my daughter, she does feel that she has to try harder, and she's always being compared to others in the company. And it's rough because this is not just your boss, it's your parents. And where do you draw the line when your parents, for example, if your parents think that this designer is better than you? Not that I do, but I'm just saying that it's tough. Credit to her and credit to those who don't want any favors as well. So they want to make it on their own merit.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. So do cut them some slack. It's really not as easy as you think, working for your parents or trying to be worthy of something that your parents built. It's a lot of pressure. And I think sometimes she just wants to, I think sometimes she questions, maybe I should just, work someplace else. But I believe in her.
Any tips for parents, as they navigate like what can be a challenging teenage phase?
I think one of the most valuable advice or lesson I've learned is to not be too quick to give advice, to listen. And listen doesn't just mean nodding, get to the advice. I think with parents, because you want the best for your kids, you can't help yourself, right? When they come to you with a problem or they're just complaining and dumping their emotions on you, which they need to, because where else are they gonna dump it? Like, you don't want them to be dumping their emotions on their friends, because then their friends would shun them and then they would be very hurt. So the only people they have are their parents, right? But when you are too quick to advise, they shut off. So for example, a kid tells you about another kid and she tells you how horrible that kid is and how much she hates that kid. As parents, we are always too quick to jump in and say, but you should forgive. You should, try to understand. So to the child, it's like, but who's on my side? That's what I'm telling you. I'm hoping that you're on my side. So one of the things I've learned is, forget the advice. Just listen first and be on their side. Oh, that's horrible. What, really? You want me to go and talk to her? Come on, you show me her Instagram account. Let me snoop for you. You just be with them. Even if you're not gonna do anything, but just be with them. And what you will realize is your kid will come to her own conclusion to forgive this person. And I've seen it with my kids. So I think sometimes that's how you teach empathy. Means you be their champion, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's a horrible person, blah, blah. And then after that, they sit down and they think, oh, yeah, actually it's not that bad, lah, mom. It's okay, forget it. And then you don't even have to give the advice, but they will come to you again. So I think that's one of the best advice, and I've put that into practice and it really works. And that's what I mean by being a friend. Not that you compromise on the discipline end. You should still be really strict and come down hard when they do something wrong. But it's the moments when you are able to be on their side and to listen to them, then you fill up their love tank for the times when you have to go down hard on them. And there will still be that trust. You don't have to worry about losing their respect or that bond. You won't, because you've shown that you were there for them and you were their cheerleader at times when they needed you most. And most of these times are very simple times. It's when they're going through, a hard time with friends at school. It can be tough. Kids are mean, full stop.
What was the inspiration, the journey for Madly to this point?
I'm a person with many ideas. Jewelry is one of the things I love. Growing up, seeing my mom wear her jewelry, and thankfully she wasn't just a diamond person. She didn't have a lot, but she did love her colored gemstone jewelry. So I grew up and I love colors, so I grew up watching that and loving it, right? And to be honest, I could go into a long spiel about jewelry, but if you really knew what went into a piece of jewelry, I don't think anybody can say they don't love jewelry. It is one of the greatest forms of art. I started it with a friend, thinking we'll just satisfy our own love for jewelry and serve a small pool of people, because we felt that there was much to be desired in the jewelry market, and it was very diamond-centric here in Singapore. But colors are colors. How can you say you don't love colors or you want to live without colors? And I also felt that there wasn't any jewelers out there who really took the time to be thoughtful about a piece, to really think about a design, or to incorporate your story or your milestone or your style into a piece. Amongst many other things, is the experience that I never quite got anywhere else. So we wanted to provide that. But I think Madly kind of took on a life of its own after the first couple of years, and I felt that after that we were all just trying to catch up.
Do you have any jewelry of special significance to you, whether it's in relation to your mom or not? Yeah.
I guess, okay, my mom, and actually funnily enough my mother-in-law as well, because my mom is your typical Asian mom who loves jewelry but don't dare say that she loves jewelry. My mother-in-law loves jewelry, and she loves them big, and she says it loud and proud. She wears it loud and proud. She had many engagement rings, and she gave me her first one, which was like really a speck of a diamond. And in the end, she did leave me, one of her favorite pieces of jewelry that I reset, which is here. And I wear it all the time, and I think it's the meaning behind the jewel. It's not so much the value or the monetary value of it, because to me and my husband, it's priceless, it's irreplaceable.
Is there anyone else besides the ones you've already mentioned, like you kind of want to give a shout out to, who have played a big role in your journey?
Mom and dad, the usual. I know people might say it's cliche, but it's true, right? You do become your mom, and your dad. The best versions, hopefully. This was always my dad's dream for me. Actually, my dad's dream for me was always to be an entrepreneur and also to be a broadcaster. It's things that he always wanted to do, but he never got to do. Isn't that what we wish for our kids? Like, we want to live vicariously through them, what we couldn't do, what we felt maybe we could have done and we can't do. If our kids do it, you just feel this great sense of pride and you're so happy for them. And I think that's what every parent wishes for their kids. So definitely, I cannot discount that. My parents, my late dad, really a huge part of it is credit to him. And of course, my mom, who is still alive. So again, it's being present and savoring every moment. That's why we moved in with her, so that there are no regrets, that I can be fully there when she's still around. And then my husband, God bless him, because without him, I don't think we'll be where we are. Definitely my friends, my co-workers, from my best friends, EJ, Elaine, whom I met at Spin, Melody, even Osa, who is in Thailand, who is doing really well. These are friends I don't forget, and I know that I have them for life, and when I pick up the phone, I know they'll be there. Jason, Arnold, I pick up the phone, they'll be there. They still are. The producers, Irene, Celeste, I still see them, and you know what? I could see them every week, and I would love that. Vivian, Andre, for sure. These are all friends for life, and they lifted me up, and they allowed me to be the person that I am and became. So they definitely played a huge part in, and how can I forget, oh my God. And my late program director, Jamie, whom I have mentioned many times because he gave me a second chance at radio. I never would have found the success that I found at Kiss 92, at my previous stations, but it's because of Jamie, and he saw something in me. And I remember one day when I was on the show, after he hired me, and then when I was on the show, he called me and he said, "Maddy, where have you been my entire life?" That really meant a lot to me. And like I say, it's the people you meet and the people whose destinies are tied to yours. At the end of the day, the public will forget you. Even if Madly becomes a worldwide brand, a recognized worldwide brand that does Singapore proud, which is my hope and my dream moving forward, nobody cares and nobody will care, and it's okay. You don't really care. But I'm gonna borrow a line from Keanu Reeves that I love, and he says, when you're gone, it's the people that love you who will miss you. And that's it. So, and I'm thankful. I know that I have loved much, and I am loved much.